right around that Trees show, Dinosaur Jr., that was my first Flaming Lips show, and the band was still pretty new to me. Like, I was still in the process of discovering their music. You know, Flaming Lips are one of those bands, I would see their records in record stores, and they always sort of caught my eye. I remember picking up Telepathic Surgery, and oh my god, and here it is, and looking at the album covers and having them resonate with me, and I was just drawn to them. I was a painter, and I liked Salvador Dali, so the oh my god cover was fascinating, and Telepathic Surgery, the guy holding the hood cap over his head, that for whatever resonated with me. I was always really curious about it, but I never pulled the trigger and bought the stuff. But I was a huge Dinosaur Jr. fan, and I was skateboarding a lot back then, and I discovered Dinosaur Jr. through skateboarding videos. Like, some of my favorite skateboarders and skateboarding parts in these videos had Dinosaur Jr. tracks, so I just thought Dinosaur Jr. was awesome. And I remember I had this friend named Reece, and he had gone to high school with Josh Garza, who later I was in a band called Comet with, and later he was in that band Secret Machines. And he was in a band called Syringe with George Salisbury, Patrick Quigley, and Robert Farrell. They would open it for the Flaming Lips, and they would rehearse in the Flaming Lips rehearsal space. So Derek was telling me about his friend Josh that came back from college, and they'd met up, and Josh had a bunch of music from this band, the Flaming Lips. And he was like, man, if you like Dinosaur Jr., I think you would really like the Flaming Lips. I was like, yeah, I've been seeing their name. I want to check them out. And like, pretty soon I picked up a couple records and really liked them a lot, but that was almost the same exact time they were coming to town with Dinosaur Jr. And when Dinosaur Jr. was coming through in Austin, they were playing with My Bloody Valentine, which I was a little bit more familiar with at the time, and I really wanted to see them. But then when I found out that Dinosaur Jr. was playing with the Flaming Lips in Dallas, and I was like, hey, that's cool, you know, I was really liking the band. And anytime there was a show playing, Trees was kind of like the place to go see cool shows like that. And, you know, there's an air of excitement, you know, you're hanging out with your friends. We were stoked about the show, and I was really stoked to see Dinosaur Jr. especially. And this band from Austin called the Dragworms opened up. I had maybe seen them a couple times before. Thought they were pretty cool, but I wouldn't say that I like loved them, that I like was buying any records from them or anything. I thought they were okay. And then the Lips came on, and you know, I just thought it was cool, loud, awesome. There weren't a lot of bands doing that kind of thing back then, and they were doing it so well. And I could tell the audience was excited too. Like, people were excited, like, hey, it's not My Bloody Valentine, but hey, we got the next best thing. You know, people remember people saying that. And I don't think Hit to Death in the Future Head was out yet, so some of that stuff was new, and I think they were trying that out. But I will say that there weren't any particular, like, one band member of the Flaming Lips that stood out to me during that show. You know, of course, Steven was rocking it and his hair's flying, and Ronald's really interesting looking with all that hair. What he's doing on guitar is super interesting. You know, that weird looking bass player, Michael. You know, Wayne is kind of the main guy. And I remember chords he was playing and where he was on the neck, you know, came up with some friends and I. These guys were sort of a mystery to me at the time, and they were intriguing. You know, just watching them play, and the sound was cool. And I really remember the last song they played was Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. I mean, I automatically recognized that, and there was this air of coolness or something, like, oh wow, they're playing this. When that song was over, they kind of had this loop going. It's like, burr, 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 kind of like at the end of Hit to Death in the Future Head, that hidden track. I thought that was pretty awesome that they just kind of let that play at the end. It kind of went on and on and on for a while. And all my friends and I were talking about that. Like, man, it's so cool that they just let that loop going, that repetitive. Later we got the video. There was a record store in Dallas called Direct Hit Records, and they would sell bootleg VHS tapes of different shows from all over the place, but especially Dallas and Austin shows. I remember I saw that video and I bought it. It had both the Flaming Lips set and the Dinosaur Jr. set, so I pretty much wore that VHS tape out. my friends. We'd watch it on repeat sometimes. I just loved it. And over time, I was drawn really to what Ronald was doing. That's kind of what I wanted to do, like that role. More than I wanted to be a songwriter, I wanted to add the textures. That's the stuff I was really fascinated with. But after watching Flaming Lips and then watching Dinosaur Jr., and I was pretty much up front row for Dinosaur Jr., like I decided, even before I left the show, that I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna learn how to play guitar. I'm gonna get in some bands. I'm gonna learn how to do this. Like, I really want to do this. So I went home from that concert, and first thing I did was go up into my room and pick up my guitar and just start doing whatever I could do. I had no idea about notes or chords or what anything was called or how to do anything. I just knew that I put my fingers on the strings and made sounds. I was just so inspired, and I got determined, like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna learn how to play this. I'm gonna get in the band. I'm gonna make music. And if I just keep doing this, even if I don't ever get any lessons or learn anything, I'm just gonna keep doing this, and eventually it'll start making sense to me. Right now it doesn't make any sense, but I'm just gonna keep plugging away, and that's pretty much what I did. I got pretty determined. I still don't know how to play guitar, but I do play guitar. Still learning all the time.